برجعتي عليه. بنتنغص نحن واخواتك بكل شيء، باكلي بشربي بقعدي بالفرح بالكره، بنتنغص تكوني بيننا يا امي.
امه ماسكه هم ونهار عيد الام بيمرق خالصه.
نقصة كبيرة علينا وعليكم، والعيد الاعياد بتمرق والمناسبات كمان نفس الشيء يا امي. ان شاء الله نشوفكم بخير.
ما فيش منطقة بكل دول العالم
There's no place in the whole world like the Golan Heights.
يعني ببرلين حائط برلين ودمر والعائلات
Even in Berlin, the wall was brought down and families were reunited again. What would happen to Israel if they just opened this checkpoint? If they just open it and allow us to visit our families? How is that going to affect their security, me seeing my family?
الله يعطيكم العافية، كيف الصحة شلونكم؟
الله يسلمك يا خالي، الله يسلمك، شو بتطمنا عنك
Rabia
انت؟
also speaks across the front line to her uncle, Hamid al-Halabi. Like Rabia's father, Hamid was also stranded in Damascus in 1967, unable to return to his home and family in the Golan Heights. Hamid went on to become a presenter on Syrian TV.
طلبتنا وأهلنا الأحباء في جولاننا الحبيب وفي أراضينا العربية المحتلة، مشاهدينا الكرام.
In 1975, Hamid was granted permission by the Israelis to meet his parents at the UN-monitored checkpoint which separates the Israeli and Syrian sides of the Golan. Hamid still recalls how a UN soldier seized the film from his camera after he took a photograph with his mother.
I said, why did you do that? Why did you do that? He said the other side told us that photographing is forbidden. I said to him, why can't I take a picture with my mother? What will it do to the security of Israel if I take a picture with my mother?
أنا أخذت صورة أنا وأمي، شو بيأثر على الأمن القومي الإسرائيلي؟ شو بيأثر على الأمن الإسرائيلي؟ يعني قال هيك تعليمات كذا، طبعا انحرق خالص، انحرق الفيلم، تعرض الفيلم.
That's it. I don't have a picture with my mother.
بذكر حالتي، بذكرها بالأسف فعلا.
And to make things worse, 8 years later she died, and I have no picture of her. I'm a 60-year-old man. I have grown-up children. And I still cry when I remember that incident. She's my mother.
Life goes on for the Syrian community in the Israeli-occupied side of the Golan Heights. Youssef Abu Jabal spent 11 years in an Israeli prison with his father. They were charged with passing information to the Syrian side. Released in a prisoner of war exchange with Syria, Youssef was allowed to stay in the Golan, while his father was sent to Damascus. Separated by the barricades, they have not seen each other for 22 years.
I
have been very sick for the last 5 years. I don't know how long I would live. I only want to see the soil of the Golan and all the people of the Golan Heights.
If I go there, I am going to visit my family, to be with my mother, to be with my father, especially if most of them, the old people like my father, to stay beside him, to say a good word to him, to touch him. Look, it's very difficult. We feel here in the area, we feel that the Israeli authorities have it cannot understand the real human feelings. They cannot.
An uprising on the streets, showing no sign of relenting. Protesters united in their defiance of the regime. As demonstrations continued for a third week, President Mubarak remained unmoved. But how much longer could he ignore the demands of his people and hold on to power? In a day-by-day account, we look at the events that changed Egypt, from those that witnessed them firsthand. Fall of Mubarak, at this time on Al Jazeera.
Where the action is happening.
I don't know if you can hear the gunfire right behind me. The army are even...
Where promises are broken.
For many of the people who have to live in fear, they have nowhere to turn.
Where there are stories to be told.
Children receive daycare and a free education.
Al Jazeera.
The relocation of the Ahmadiyya has magnified the issue of religious intolerance in Indonesia. Is this inevitable in a multicultural society? And is the government turning a blind eye?
101 East at this time on Al Jazeera.
Behind the harsh reality of headline stories, creative forces are constantly developing. Across the globe, people use their talents, their imagination, and their vision to break down powerful barriers. From a small backroom theater challenging a despotic regime, to the courage of individuals searching for expression. With rich colors and clear voices, people communicate to a wider world. Artscape, coming soon on Al Jazeera.
Israel captured the Golan Heights during the Six-Day War in 1967. The terrain is hilly, and the heights rise to between 120 and 520 meters, offering a strategic landscape of defense for Israel's northeast border. The Israelis and the Syrians are at their closest at the border crossing of Quneitra. A small United Nations force supervises the area of separation between the two sides. Syria and Israel have been the most implacable of enemies over the years. Although the Golan Heights has been one of the quietest front lines in the Arab-Israeli conflict, the mutual hostility between the two sides remains as entrenched as ever. Israel's control of the land was tightened in 1981 when it unilaterally annexed the Golan Heights. The move was not recognized internationally. Today, there are more than 30 Jewish settlements in the Golan, with over 20,000 settlers. One of these settlers is Efi Itam, a member of the Israeli parliament and the head of the renewed religious Nationalist Zionist Party. Itam fought on the Golan Front in the 1973 war, known to the Israelis as the Yom Kippur War.
I was here as a young officer during the Yom Kippur War, while Israel and the IDF were caught unprepared, and the only reason why Israel at that time was not defeated by the Syrian combined attack of Syrian and Egyptian armies at Yom Kippur, we were all fasting, we were all in the synagogues, was the fact that we had that small amount of